Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another off-season video. Today, we're covering the Phoenix Suns. If you're listening to these back to back to back, you're gonna hate me for this, but as always, it's on YouTube. YouTube Hustle and Hoops, great visual component to go along with it. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple right now, but without further ado, let's talk into the former Finals champion runner-ups from a couple years ago, the Phoenix Suns. So they obviously have their core. They have their core four, as one might say. Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, Chris Paul, and Mikal Bridges, and then a great couple of other supporting cast members. But D Book just got paid this offseason. That was the biggest story. Mendel is our suburban Phoenix resident or Arizona resident. How's the vibe around Arizona? Like, do people think D Book, as D Book's neighbor, is D Book ready to be a max contract superstar?
I mean, yes. It's big for them that they kept Ayton because this team could have gone in the wrong direction if Ayton left. It just would have knocked over another domino. If Chris Paul, he's going to retire soon, and then it just would have been Devin Booker alone again with a couple guys like Bridges and Johnson. But I mean, the people in Phoenix like their team, man. The people in Phoenix like their team. Everyone likes Devin Booker as opposed to Chris Paul, as opposed to Ayton. Looking at this list, I personally would have gone Booker, Paul. I would have put Ayton ahead of Bridges, but like not that much. I don't think he's the most important part of this team, but like he keeps them a contender because
Some might say he's a glue
big
guy.
Yes.
Some might say Mikal Bridges is a glue guy. Dove, do you agree with the bringing back of DeAndre Ayton? Like, obviously, you don't want to see your former first overall pick walk for nothing, but they didn't seem inclined to reach a deal on their end. Do you agree with them bringing him back? Do you think he can be a third option, second option with this team?
I think the ability of DeAndre Ayton isn't what's in question. I think it's the relationship, like what's written down in the slide is what's in question. It's
Yeah, so do you agree with them bringing him back?
I don't really agree with it. I think it's kind of an odd thing to do. I mean, maybe I'm, obviously we don't have back information. We're not in the offices. But it's just weird. It's a weird thing to say that you don't really want the guy and then go and re-sign him like you did want the guy. I genuinely don't think that they would have been that much worse off with Miles Turner, and
that wasn't an option though.
I don't think a sign and trade was on the table, Doug.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once he signed the offer sheet, it wasn't on the table anymore, and they snoozed and lost. But they said, we're not losing you for nothing. Come back. And I don't know if that was the best move.
Bring him back. Then hold on to him, and
it's just the alternatives. There was nothing better they could do.
Yeah, it's just a shitty situation overall.
They want to be contenders.
Last question on this slide for you, Duville. Chris Paul, how much have you got left in the tank? You think it's now or never, like this season or never for Chris Paul's Phoenix Suns championship goal?
We've seen him break the curse of actually getting to the finals with Phoenix, and then they lost. So now they're bringing back somewhat a similar roster to that championship squad, and they're much more experienced. But I will say I'm more nervous, not with Chris Paul, because we know what he's going to give the Suns if he's still producing, which I believe he will. But I'm more concerned with DeAndre Ayton, like Doug said. Like, I can't imagine you hearing from your own team that drafted you number one, you've been there your entire career, and you hearing them say, yeah, he's not a max player. And now he re-signed with them, and it wasn't really even his choice. So it's just like,
all right, so
I understand. I don't think that's going to end well, because this could be the start of the Phoenix downfall. And we might see that in another YouTube video.
So let's put a
Years
pin in that for
down.
now, and we'll
I'm
cover
assuming-
that more, full circle at the end of the episode when we talk about record projection. But let's move on to their not so busy off season. Shouts out Chuck. The 2022 NBA draft, the Phoenix Suns selected nobody. James Jones, former executive of the year, selected nobody. Nothing to say here. They're ready to win now. Obviously, a current draft pick doesn't really do much for you. Their biggest, things of the offseason were bringing back D-Book and Ayton to max contracts for them both. They also signed Monty Williams to an extension, giving him some job security. And then they brought back Bismack Biyombo, who was a solid backup center for them. Honestly, him and JaVale McGee were pretty interchangeable last year. He's one of the guys they lost, JaVale, along with Alfred Payton, who sucks. So nothing much to say. They also picked up Damian Lee and Josh Okogie, who might, if someone goes down, if one of those guards goes down, you might be able to see them step up, prove themselves. They're always looking to prove it. They got signed to prove it deals. So yeah, let's just go right into our lineups and go from there. So let's start from the other side. Jack Mandel. What do we got over here?
Yes. I mean, I debated putting Cam Johnson in this lineup, but it's just he was so successful at the 6-man last year that they got to keep it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like, he could have been the 6-man of the year last year. Honestly, did he get any first place votes? Do we remember?
I can't say off the top of my head, but
He was
It was a
deserving of
Tyler
that.
Hero landslide.
Yeah. I mean, Tyler Hero, yeah. But he deserved at least one first place vote because he was unreal off the bench. He had that one game where he dropped like 40 points and
Yep.
hit a banking 3 game
remember it
winner.
vividly.
Unreal game. He was my favorite player in the league for like a couple weeks after that.
All right. Biggest guy off your bench. I mean, I guess I'm the only one who didn't have it. It was Torrey
Yeah.
Craig. I noticed. I love Torrey Craig. He
It's-
gave great
yeah.
minutes for the Denver Nuggets in the bubble. He can do a lot of things, but he has not been good as of late.
Yeah.
And I just don't see him being in the
I think
rotation.
I might be holding on to him a little too much
Yeah.
because
I love Torrey Craig. Great starter from
Might be-
great starter from the bottom. Now he's here moment playing in the
Yeah.
NBL, like 25-year-old rookie. But that's not to
I
say he
think-
can't get minutes, but
I just don't know how healthy Saric is, so I didn't put him in the
yeah,
starting lineup.
that's fair. That's fair.
I mean, in my lineup at all.
Duville, seems like you have the exact same lineup as Mindy.
I
Yet
didn't
again.
even notice that.
Yet again.
think
I
it's
Look at
pretty
know
uniform.
you didn't do it intentionally.
Yeah,
Um,
I think with this team, you just
we're
have
just
to
realists.
assume most of us are gonna have pretty similar lineups, with the exception of one or two. I did want to say Torrey Craig. I was giving him the benefit of the doubt because of what we've seen already, and I think Saric, I just didn't really like him in the 10. So that's
Yeah,
it.
I mean, I'm the only one who had Sarge in their 10-man. I'm just looking at their big depth, and like obviously Jay Crowder and Cam Johnson can both play the 4, and Biyombo is a true center. But
I get that.
Sarge can be that stretch 5 if they need
Yeah.
him to.
With
he's
no
coming up-
JaVale too.
He got hurt in the finals against the Bucks. Like he's ready to come back, or at least he should be. And we know Sarge is a good ball player. Like we talked about Nick
Yeah.
Batum in our last episode. But Sarge is a good ball player. Like they're NBA players. They can play the power forward. And then in terms of the Cam Johnson, Jay Crowder argument, like obviously we know how great Cam Johnson was off the bench. But I think it's time to pass the torch. Jay Crowder will be the same player as he is in the starting lineup off the bench. And I think Cam Johnson just does so much more for you. And, you're going to end up paying him. It's time to start him.
I just think their bench is so weak that if you put Jay Crowder on the bench, he's your 6-man, and then it just falls off even more from there. Like,
Well, I think you're looking at an 8-man rotation come playoff time. And I think that's what they did when they made the finals. Like they're going to rely on CP3, Booker, Bridges, Johnson, Ayton for at minimum 36 minutes a night for each
Yeah.
of them.
I think your lineup plays the majority of the minutes, but I think my lineup will be the starting
The
lineup
closing.
on the first day of the season.
That's fair. Yeah, I agree with that. Dove, we have the exact same lineup. Any thoughts on that? And then if you want to give your prediction on, their floor and ceiling like we typically do.
No. I mean, honestly, I don't think the lineup is that
There's
interesting.
not
I
much
think
to say.
yeah, there's some where it's like we can argue, but this one is, I agree with what you guys are saying. I think Jay Crowder probably will be the guy who's starting on day one. I also think he might be the guy who's closing in the playoffs for them, but I think it's time to pass the torch, just like Shub. Floor, I would project that. I mean, this core has not been anything below a 50, 45, 50 win team anyways. So I would assume that this would be floor 5 seed, ceiling being an NBA championship. But I don't think they can win an NBA championship. I honestly don't even know if they could get back to the finals again, with the way that these other teams in the league are stacking up. I have them being at their ceiling conference finals team.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, a conference finals loss, like for a team like this, that's a failure, obviously. And to segue off of that, hot take alert. I think the Phoenix Suns will finish 4th in their division. And with being 4th in their division, they're going to be a play-in team or at best a 6 seed. And I think they lose in the first round. I
I
think
think they're gonna be worse than the Kings.
no, the Kings would be 5th.
Oh, I
I
got
have
you.
no, wait.
Fourth in the
I have
division.
Warriors, Clippers, and Lakers ahead of them.
Yeah.
So, if those 3 teams are ahead of them, it just statistically speaking, they're probably going to be a 6 seed at best. And then I also think they're going to lose in the first round. I think we saw how close they were last year to losing in the first round. Like you were saying about their depth, it's not that big. They're going to have to rely on these guys for a lot of minutes. They get overworked, they get injured. And I think their best chance to win a championship, unfortunately, has passed, and it was 2 years ago. It's very hard. We're take it for granted because there's been a lot of dynasties recently with the Spurs and the Heat and the Warriors, and LeBron James, but it's not easy to go to the finals every year, and it's not easy to win the finals. And I think that their time has passed. Duville.
I mean, it's tough to follow that up.
Yeah.
I will say, personally, I think their ceiling is NBA Finals. Just like I said for the Clippers, NBA Finals, but they would lose. And I think I can't say they'd be a play-in team because they're just so good. And like Doug said, it's 45 to 50 wins when they have this core in and when they're healthy. So I think their floor is probably a 4 seed, 5 seed. Ceiling, like I said, losing in the finals. I think that's fair.
And Mindy, take us home yet again.
All right. I'm with you, Shane Bum, on the floor. I think their floor is an 8 seed play-in. And that's because you have the Grizzlies, the Warriors, the Mavericks, the Nuggets, the Timberwolves, the Pelicans, and the Clippers. And the Suns were kind of scaring me at the end of the season and in the playoffs. I mean, they almost lost to
Pelicans.
They almost lost to the Pelicans. Like, not that close of an
With
almost
no
loss, but
Zion.
like no Zion. The Pelicans put up really good games against them. And
Theft.
the Mavericks beat them. Like the Mavericks beat them.
Yep.
The Mavericks are good. but,
Mavericks
like,
whooped them. They
this
didn't just
team
beat
is-
them.
this team was supposed to beat the Mavericks.
Yeah.
They were supposed to make the finals.
Yeah.
And
lost by
I was supposed to go to games 5 and 7, but that's fine. That's fine.
Yep. Still holding a grudge
It's
on
all right.
that.
A different combo.
On the other hand, their ceiling is an NBA championship because shit happens with, I mean, D-Book's not done getting better. And Mikal Bridges isn't done getting better. And Cam Johnson's not done getting better. Chris Paul's still there to hang around, and DeAndre Ayton, maybe getting paid like this will give him some confidence, and he can get out there and tear it up.
Um,
The
gonna be a lot.
value.
Gonna
I
be a
mean,
as
lot
long
of
as they let him
variables.
play his video games.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
gonna-
mean, they can get to the finals again because they're very good.
yes, they're good. Yeah. gonna be a lot of variables with this team.
can
Johnson,
hoop.
Crowder,
They are
Aiton,
good.
and D Book, CP3 and his health, injuries, age. But that'll pretty much do it for this one.
She is very
Remember,
beautiful to me.
remember to follow us on Twitter, Instagram at Hustle and Hoops, TikTok at Hustle and Hoops. Subscribe to us on YouTube, leave a like on the video, and leave a comment. Let us know if what you think the Suns' floor and ceiling is, and what team you want us to do next.
Winners
Um,
work, baby.
But
We're
until
not gonna-
then, we'll see y'all
It's
next
about
time.
drive.